Here we
I get some
go.
wear in there, bro? Hold up, hold on. All right, all right.
All right, we're rolling. All right, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Fan Union for the fans, by the fans. I apologize. I'm a little under the weather, but we missed y'all last week because Trip and I were being degenerate, so uh, couldn't make it 2 weeks in a row. But what's going on, fellas? How y'all feeling?
Hey man, it's good to see y'all boys back off the boat, man. Y'all boys was on Gilligan's Island for a little bit. Me and Logan
Something like that.
worried about y'all for a minute, but it's good to have the two Dons back in the building.
Yes, sir, fellas. Logan, Trip, how we feeling, guys?
Feeling good, man. Glad to be back. I got a chance to watch the episode y'all recorded while I was gone, so everything looks smooth. I'm glad to be back a part of it.
Hey Trip, they said while you was out there snorkeling and scuba diving, you found some of them plays that Harbaugh and them boys was getting sign stealing codes on. Is that true? You know, the fans been asking.
We're gonna keep that disclosed because I don't want to get fined. You know, Michigan's under a lot of fines, and Jim Harbaugh attached to that. I don't want any smoke, so I'm just gonna keep that to myself.
I respect that. Pleading the fifth.
Logan, what's going on, Papa Bear?
Hey, I'm just excited to be back in the saddle next to three handsome men, you know?
Hey, man, you ain't lying. Well,
Mhm.
guys, excuse me. Tonight's going to be of course, our college night NFL episode will be tomorrow. Got a lot that happened today. SEC's releasing schedules right now. Of course, we had a big firing of Mike Gundy, which we're going to get into. John Mateer hurt, so a lot to talk about. But first thing, we should start off with Mike Gundy because me personally, like I said earlier, I always felt like this was uh, Dan Mullen at Mississippi State. Like, how could you fire this guy? I mean, I'm looking at it right now, and I know, Graham, if you want to share that tweet you sent us earlier, but this guy played Oklahoma State from 86 to 89, started coaching there in 1990, left for Baylor in 96, coached at Maryland from 97 to 2000, and then from there on out, he's been a Cowboy at Oklahoma State. So kind of crazy. I know. I mean, when he had, Whedon, Des Bryant, Justin Blackman, he had some really, really talented guys, some really good teams. I mean, you look back when he got there, his first year, they went 4-7, then 7-6, 7-6, 9-4, 11-2, 12-1. I mean, he had some really, really good years. A couple of his years, or one of them, I remember beating Georgia out in Stillwater when they had old Des Bryant. So, kind of crazy, but I mean, I'm looking right here, and he went 8-3 in 2020, 12-2 2021, 7-6 22, 10-4 23, 3-9 last year, 1-2 this year. So it looked like kind of after such a long time they're looking to get off the Gundy boat, I guess. But I mean, one of the best quotables in college football history, and I'm going to get that pulled up because I want everybody to hear this, and I think y'all know what I'm talking about.
Got a few.
Okay.
He just dropped a bombshell quote the other day, or not too long ago, about Ali. I don't know if that's the one that you're talking about, but
Oh no. Oh, you'll know this one. Here you
he
go.
got a few. He got a few that's going down in the rover.
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40. I'm not a kid. Write something about me.
That's a classic right there. That was from 2007, and that one is one of the ones that lives on. So, Graham, I know you had, excuse me, like I said, I'm a little under the weather. Graham, I know you had a lot to say about old Gundy. So why don't you go ahead and hit us off with some of your wisdom?
Well, I'll spare some of I won't call them casuals, but many of the viewers and listeners who probably don't partake in much Oklahoma State football. I'll be concise, but I am going to give my flowers to old Gundy here because he is going to go into coaching heaven, the same type of coaching heaven that Mark Rick and guys like Mike Leach, who's also in real heaven, not even joking about that, but rest in peace to another GOAT and another legend. But in coaching heaven, this guy's going the same place. He's probably not going to take on a job to live up to the same heights that he did at his peak in Oklahoma State. But just real quick, let me run this down with you guys, bro. 170-90 record at Oklahoma State. Now, this is back in peak Big 12 football as well. We know how many runs he made in that super deep conference in its heyday. 12 bowl wins, made a bowl game in 18 consecutive seasons. 8 10-win seasons, 2 12-win seasons, 10 top 10 finishes, 5 top 15. 15 top 15 finishes, and Oklahoma State was ranked in the top 25 for 17 straight seasons during his tenure. And this guy, he took this team to heights that they'll probably never reach again in our lifetime. And for that, I tip my hat to him, man. Mike Gundy, once again, never took them boys to a title, or really anywhere close, truthfully speaking. But he did something with a program in an area and in a market, so to speak, where the recruiting fountain isn't the most plentiful. The pockets aren't the deepest from the boosters and whatnot. This guy took on a lot of really talented teams out there in Stillwater. So, again, I'll tip my hat to old Gundy, man. I welcome y'all to throw in any of y'all's flowers that y'all want to share for the legend.
I would say anytime that you got Justin Bieber quoting you as like a 14-year-old who's on top of the world, you're doing all right. I don't know if y'all remember that clip.
It's a good point.
Gundy ended up having the baby ringtone. So another classic little Gundy moment. But I think Graham pretty much touched on it all. Honestly, some of those stats shocked me. I didn't realize Gundy was – I knew Gundy was good, but I didn't realize he really had a Oklahoma State. What'd you say, 17 straight bowls or something like that, 15 top 15 finishes. I mean, it's pretty solid considering I've always looked at Oklahoma State as kind of the tier 2 team in Oklahoma, kind of like your Georgia Tech to your Georgia. I kind of looked at Oklahoma State to your Oklahoma like that. I mean, it's hard to compete with Oklahoma, but I mean, obviously they were doing it. I remember the Mason Rudolph days, Justin Blackman days. I mean, they had some squads out there back in the day. And with that being said, I made the joke in the group chat. I'm going to make it here. I salute you, Mike Gundy. 2 New Year's Six Bowl wins. Thanks to you, sir. Ole Miss in 2010, I think it was, beat them in the Cotton Bowl. And then just in 2016, 17, we beat them in the Sugar Bowl. So that one was pretty sweet, pun intended. So
the gift that keeps on giving.
He's a part of 2 of my great moments in Ole Miss history. So I'll salute to that, you know.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I think Graham, was wording it perfectly. I think this guy deserves more flowers than anything. Obviously didn't bring the big one home at any point in time, but being able to accomplish that at any point and over that long period of a stretch is an accomplishment in itself. So he deserves nothing but his flowers. Would have liked to see something like this happen as like a happy farewell at the end of the season. But if you're looking at where this, this program is headed right now and the consistency of just not performing, those guys up in the front office have a decision they have to make. And a lot of times those decisions are really hard. So, like Graham said, and I know, Logan, you pointed on this too, they're the tier 2 school in Oklahoma right now. And from a recruiting standpoint, they're not really doing a whole lot. And when you're not able to recruit like that, you got to live in that transfer portal. And they're not really doing that either. So, again, I give him his flowers. I got nothing but good things to say about Gundy. But I do know one of the things that I did see on Twitter is a lot of Florida fans from Gainesville throwing their hands up in the air going, all right, if they can do it to Gundy, what are we doing here? So I think this is a trend that we're going to continue to see in this era of college football, is that if you're not performing, we're going to cut ties a lot quicker than the public expects. But overall, hell of a career. I agree with Graham. I don't think he continues his legacy anywhere else. I think he should just hang him up and go enjoy retirement. So shout out Gundy.
Real quick fact. Do you guys know who was at Oklahoma State the year before? Basically who Mike Gundy, whose place he took?
Who was that?
Big Daddy Les Miles.
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, boys, and real quick, I did misquote that. It was 5 top 15 finishes and 15 top 25 finishes. So I did misquote myself, but either way, man, hats off to Big Gundy. That's still a hell of an accomplishment to achieve out there in Stillwater. Like Logan said, being the little brother in the shadows constantly for a big program like Oklahoma. So we're going to give it up to the OG.
Well, you got to think, for 90% of program, 90 maybe, I don't know that's the right percentage, but like for most programs, 25, 15 top 25 wins in 20 years, finishes in 20 years, that's more than most programs can ask for. I promise you Northwestern would do anything to have that. And that's not like a direct shot at Northwestern, but that's obviously someone for like a program like that, that'd be a big deal. But I'm looking here. I mean, I think what really sealed it was that 69-3 loss against Oregon. That was brutal pretty much in every facet. And he had the chatter before that Dan Lanning was not a fan of. So a lot of that. But Trent, like you said about Florida, I mean, I think it's easy to say Napier's next on that list. But my thing is, like, you fire a coach bowl season, that's one thing. You fire a coach less than halfway through the season, I mean, to me, you're kind of mailing it in. And especially a team like Florida's got a ton of talent, which I don't know if you can do. Um, so I don't know if you'll see him go as soon, but that's kind of like the next, like, oh yeah, he's going. Like, are there any arguments to that, or is he pretty much next up?
You talking about for Billy?
Or yeah. So he's probably next to be canned, at least in one of the
I mean,
Power Five programs.
There's any coach could be fired at any point in time, in my opinion. I mean, unless you're just a solidified guy, but I think there's really only maybe 8 to 10 coaches in the whole country that are safe where they're at any point in time. So I would say if I had to pick one coach that's next up, it would probably be him. But like you said, with the talent they have on the roster, with the recruits they have coming in, you're risking a lot of things by cutting ties in the middle of the season. So I always personally, just as a fan of football, I don't like to see those things happen in the middle of the season just because now you got an interim head coach. What's going to happen with this program for the rest of the year? But if it's got to happen, it's got to happen. I think Oklahoma State made the right decision here. I'm not saying that they fumbled this one, but it's just unfortunate to see it, 4 weeks into the season.
Well, Trip, I think it's too early to actually make a call, and not to jump on you right after you make that comment. It's not like that. It's just more so. I think it's too soon to really make a call on whether we know if they fumbled or not, because truthfully, do we think that they're going to perform better than what they would have if they told Mike Gundy, look, we're parting ways at the end of the season. We respect you for what you've done. We really hope that you can finish this out on a high note. We're not going to put a label on that. We don't know if that means, obviously not playoffs, but bowl games or whatever it may be. But do we think that they were going to finish out this season better than that? Because truthfully, when it comes to like who we plan on or who they plan on replacing Gundy with, I think they're staring into the abyss. I kind of made the comparison of him with Mark Richt, and I mean that because they're both guys who, statistically speaking, and in a couple of ways, no matter what way you want to look at it, were successful and reached a successful ceiling during their tenures at a team. But the difference is Mark Richt's replacement was form fitted. They had it right there. And with Oklahoma State, I don't think there's anybody who really comes to the top of our mind. There's going to be so many better, highly coveted positions that I think are going to be available this offseason. Oklahoma State's probably going to be closer to between that 5 to 10 range as far as destinations that the top coaches want to, go to, truthfully. So I don't know, man. It was an interesting move to me. Maybe the ADs and him didn't see eye to eye about a couple of things, because that's crazy to be this point in the season and getting fired.
I will say, my buddy made a joke about it earlier, but read an article earlier was talking about some names. One name that popped up in there, Falcons OC, Zach Robinson. He played for Gundy in 2010, or like he graduated in 2010, and then played for the Cowboys for a little bit. He's never coached in college, but that's an interesting one to watch out. So, but if we ain't got nothing else to go with Gundy, I was going to go ahead and get into the other Oklahoma team, the Sooners. John Mateer was the Heisman front runner. He injured his throwing hand. I think he broke a bone in it. He's going to have surgery. He's going to be out for at least a month. And I think we all know that is a killer for Oklahoma. I mean, they have an unbelievable defense. Maybe the best in the country. If you're watching it, I don't know if I've watched a better defense personally this year. But he's going to be out for at least a month, and they've got some. They're going to be playing Texas within that month. South Carolina, who we're going to get to in a little bit, they've been a bit of a letdown. But that's not somebody you want to go into with your backup quarterback. And I'm looking here, and he is no longer on the Heisman on any of the Heisman odds. Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, who is looked incredible as that sits at the top. We got him, Dante Moore from Oregon, and Jeremiah Smith, and Carson Beck right behind him. So yeah, that's a killer to what they have going forward. Again, last year injuries told a big part of Oklahoma's story, especially in the receiving room. Now they answered it. We're going to talk about the Oklahoma game, Auburn too. They don't win that game without Mateer. and some very, 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 very questionable calls. I'm never one to blame the refs on anything, but that was bad. There were some really, really questionable moments. But
Auburn got hosed, man. Let's call it what it is. And
yeah,
we hate Auburn in this circle. Auburn got hosed, man.
and I mean, because now here's my thing. Well, I'm gonna get to that when we get more to Auburn, but yeah, Oklahoma not having Mateer. I mean, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I think it's okay too because I think their playoff push is done without him. I saw somebody say, they are one bad John Mateer game away from a loss. I think a bad John Mateer game is better than a non-John Mateer game. So, really looking for or not. I don't know if looking forward is the right way to say it, but definitely interested to see how they look going forward. But that's a major, major blow. Major blow.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. I mean, I think that, any team losing a starting quarterback is going to take a toll on where you were looking at as far as moving the season forward. But for a Heisman favorite like this is just a killer to watch. I mean, I think it's more impressive to hear that he broke that bone in the first quarter and still balled out like that. So
he's a gamer, dude.
Dude, that kid is something special. And as a fan of football, never want to see anybody get hurt. I'm glad it's only going to be for a month for his sake, but who's to say he's going to come back 100% right after that month? I have a feeling he's going to come back a lot earlier than he's supposed to try to get them back on that run. Hopefully their defense can keep them in a lot of games to, keep their playoff hopes alive. I believe they have a bye week coming up, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that one, but hopefully that gives him a little bit of extra cushion to get him back and ready. But yeah, Oklahoma looks scary, man. I know we're going to talk about AP polls and rankings here in a little bit, but I've got Oklahoma as a top 5 team in the country right now. So that John Mateer not being there hurts.
So they've actually got a bye week this upcoming week. They don't play this. They don't play this weekend. And then they play Kent State, Texas, South Carolina, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Bama, Mizzou, and LSU. Oh my God, what a slate! My God, that is brutal. So yeah, it's going to be imperative for him to get back as quick as they can. But the bye week and then Kent State, I mean, that does offer them a luxury of time because then South Carolina is the 18th. So, like Tripp said, I feel like he'd probably come back a little bit early too. So they at least have a luxury of time. But when that schedule gets rolling downhill, I think it's rolling.
I mean, the issue is it's the throwing hand as well. You can't put a mid on it and realistically say, hey, avoid too much pressure here or whatever. It's your throwing hand. And it's also going to be it's no secret. I mean, guys land on their throwing hand. That's the hand that you land on and your ribs land on most often, when you're getting hit in the pocket. So it is going to be something that we're going to have to keep an eye on even when he gets back. I can definitely foresee it being one of those injuries that, hopefully a guy that's as talented as that with a team and a defense, especially that's as talented as that, is going to be in the playoffs and playing in the games that mean the most when they matter, when the most fans are watching, and we're able to see him play. But I do foresee that being something that lingers and hangs around. A little bit of handshaking in the pocket as he comes back into the pocket throughout the season. Definitely something to keep an eye on, man, especially in those rivalry games when guys is looking to hurt you. Let's just call it what it is.
Agreed. Logan, what you got?
I'll say that I was just looking up. I was trying to pull the schedule back up as you were talking about it because, excuse me, I couldn't remember all that. But so I'm seeing bye week, and then they have Kent State. They should be able to win that without Mateer. Then they have Texas. Probably could win that without him. I don't know how much I believe in Texas. As good as their defense looks, as good as Oklahoma's defense looks, Arch Manning doesn't look great. He's flexing about beating Sam Houston. It's with that being said, I don't know. I mean, y'all know, I was pulling for Arch Manning. I would have loved Arch Manning to run the table, win the Heisman. I would have loved it because I feel like so many people were falsely criticizing the man. But damn, do they look like they were right. So not to get off subject, Oklahoma against Texas, they might squeak out with that one. And then they have South Carolina, who has not looked good. And I want to say it cuts it off here, but I think that following week is when they play Ole Miss. And, I mean, who knows how that could go. Maybe Mateer's back that game if they're saying he's only missing a month. It could be kind of questionable leading into the week. I could see that, especially if it's still Ole Miss looking good and looking like a big matchup. I could see them playing the whole questionable game even if he is healthy, just gamesmanship, But, I mean, I'm looking and it looks like it looks like their starting quarterback is going to be the guy who started a few games last year, Michael Hawkins. He had 783 last year, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, played 7 games. He started in 4 of them. It's saying he ran for 200 yards too. So, I mean, it looks like he can, scramble a little bit if needed. So that could help him. But to me, it doesn't like they really have like too much of a juggernaut here soon.
Graham, you mute it.
It doesn't like they have too much of a juggernaut here like immediately, but it definitely ramps up after a few weeks. So if they can maybe they can weather the storm with Tier being out these next few weeks. And then after that, if he comes back healthy and gunning, Oklahoma could still have a shot at the playoffs, in my opinion.
Well,
yeah, Logan,
go ahead, Graham.
I was actually going to say, man, that backup Hawkins sounds like somebody who can do exactly enough for a team that just needs 3 or 4 games out of you to facilitate. Hey, we need you to make a couple of plays on your feet. We don't need you to put a cape on. We need to make it to week 9. That's what this is about.
Wasn't it the quarterback that beat Bama last year?
2-2 over that stretch. That's beautiful.
Wasn't Hawkins playing when they beat Bama last year?
I think it was. I was gonna say, I remember Hawkins playing last year because Jackson Arnold was the starter. He was a 5-star Gatorade Player of the Year, and Hawkins came in and he was a big spark plug when they needed him. I think they ended up losing the game against. They lost to Tennessee. Was it last year? I can't even remember. But there were games where he looked like, oh my gosh, this is our guy. And then there were also games where he looked unplayable. But I mean, they got a lot more bone in their favor this year with the receiver room injuries not being as prevalent. Knock on wood for that. But yeah, they've. Like I said, when the ball gets rolling on the schedule, it gets rolling.
That's SEC, baby.
After that, Kent State, yeah, especially next year, we're going to have a night team, which we'll talk about the schedules here in a little bit. But let's get on to real quick. I want to go back to what Logan said, talking about Arch. I know everybody's blowing up about him, flexing over the dude on the ground. I have less of a problem with that than I do the Texas social media pages reposting it ad nauseum as if it is something impressive. That's, I think, is my biggest problem.
I will say this, too, before we get too far off of Oklahoma and Texas being their real only tough game, possibly, because who really knows what Texas is, honestly. It does say that he played this Hawkins guy played last year against Texas, went 19 of 30, 148, and 27 rushing yards. So not going to, blow you away, but 19 of 30 is not a bad percentage, So, I mean, he's also got some experience against Texas, which means Texas has experience against him as well. So, I mean, we could see that going either way, but I definitely see that being the one matchup they should truthfully circle to be like, all right, if we can get past this, and honestly, they might could lose it and still make playoffs if Mateer gets back healthy and doesn't skip a beat. Who knows? The hand injury could linger. We never really know until he gets back on the field. But just my thought.
We'll see. But speaking of Oklahoma and Mateer playing on, getting hurt against Auburn. The Auburn game was very controversial, to say the least. Had some 3 very, very obvious. Oh, you know what? I know, that I heard. I think they said Bob Stoops was talking about he saw them practice to play. He's a color analyst for Oklahoma, the local channel, and said that he saw them practice that. Which I don't know why in the world you would ever admit that, but here we are. But I hate seeing that substitution rule get used against teams, like forcing them to call timeout. That's such garbage. I hate the way that they've been able to manipulate it. The fumble, which I think is really the big one, because Auburn ends up, it's originally called a fumble. It's originally, taken back to the house, which in the end, makes a big difference in the scoreboard, especially, with a touchdown deficit when you lose. But my problem, I don't think, is it being called an incomplete pass. I think either call would have been the right one. Like, it's a bang, bang. No problem. There's no way you can look at that replay and overturn it. There's absolutely no way. That's my biggest gripe, I think. If anybody wants to run off of that.
True. You look like you had a good take on this one. I was gonna let you.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to questionable calls, I mean, it could go either way. But I do think there was some pretty clear calls that could be, brought back. But if you put me in some stripes on that sideline, I'm gonna screw that whole game up. So I can't say shit about what's going on down there. I mean, obviously these guys are professionals. They're built for moments like this. But the end of the day, you're dealing with the cards you got dealt. So as much as it sucks, what can you do? So
But
that's all I'm
see,
looking at.
the thing is, that's what I'm saying though. Them calling it on the field a fumble or incomplete pass. I thought it was personally an incomplete pass, but there's no way it should have been overturned for one or the other. And that's
No,
not
yeah,
a
I
big
get
bang decision. That's we go to the review. Like, there's no way to me you can look at that and it's indisputable which one happened or the other. That's more my gripe of it.
I
And
think the
Joey, I
biggest
was watching the game. That was my biggest issue as well. Chirp, sorry, bro, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, it completely contradicted the criteria that they tell us as viewers, to go by when watching these types of reviews. They showed no type of indisputable evidence to overturn the call that they made themselves. It was crazy to me, man. But yeah, I said it earlier. They got hosed. I feel that way, and they're personally a rival of my favorite team. So it doesn't comfort me or give me any type of joy to say that. But I do think Auburn got there was an inside job on them this weekend.
You got anything for it, Logan?
I did not watch this game. I mean, I had it on a second screen, so I saw it was back and forth, and it looked like a battle. But as far as actually watching it, my team was playing, so
Logan,
gotta
not
do
a fan of the
priorities.
misuse of the term shootout. Not a fan.
Dude. All I'm gonna say is I had to text y'all because I'm getting the notification saying shootout. It's like 22-17, and I'm like, shootout? What are we talking about? This is like not even close to being a high score game, especially college terms. But I just had to make sure my whole life wasn't a lie, because I grew up as a shootout being like a 50+ point back and forth, and this was you got a team in the teens still, so I was like, a shootout. So yeah.
Hey, we talking about shootouts. Got to shout out Mike Gundy, man. That's a man who can appreciate a good shootout.
Yeah, playing in that conference.
Amen.
You remember that one year?
I say that whole conference.
I think it's the year Texas went to the national championship and lost to Alabama, where it was like Big 12 teams. They just kept taking each other's spots. Like Texas Tech had that huge win over. Matter of fact, it was the year Florida beat Oklahoma because Sam Bradford won the Heisman that year. That's what it was. It was like Oklahoma beat Texas. Then Oklahoma was number one. Texas beat somebody. They were number one. And then they had that huge game where Michael Crabtree catches the game-winning touchdown. Texas Tech goes number one. Then Oklahoma State's number one. And I think Missouri might have been number one. That was a great Big 10 football or Big 12 football at that point. God, it was so good. So much offense. So many good guys that went and played in the league. I mean, I don't think Des Bryant was there yet, but there were some freaking monsters in the Big 12 that year.
A fun fact, that year Ole Miss played Texas Tech in the Cotton Bowl, and we had a 6% chance to win, and we won. So just going to throw that in there.
So y'all own the Big 12? Is that what I'm hearing? Oh, hey, I speaking of Oklahoma, got another little fun trivia stat for y'all. All right, Oklahoma is one of two programs who have won 90% of their games at home since 2000. Who is the other team?
Since 2000?
Yeah.
My first thing was to say Alabama, but Saban didn't get there that early enough.
It's not going to – I don't think it's anybody you guess at first, but when I say it, it's going to click like, okay, that makes sense.
Oh, I was going to say Ohio State, so maybe I'm wrong then.
No, not Ohio State.
I don't even have a valid guess, so I'm not even going to throw nothing out there.
I'll give you a hint. Graham is partially representing it.
USC?
No.
UCLA?
Think less of the logo.
No shot.
Think less of the logo.
No shot.
It's Boise State.
I swear I was thinking Boise State, bro. I really was, bro.
Oklahoma.
But when you
Boise
said
State.
I'm gonna give you a clue, I figured you was gonna say like a Power 5 school or something like that.
No, I was thinking like because you're wearing a blue hat.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So that was kind of where I was going with that. But yeah, interesting to me. I didn't expect that.
Speaking of Oklahoma, I'm gonna throw in one more random stat then. If this is what we're doing, Joey.
All right.
So there's only been 5 FBS teams to start 3-0 in the last 5 seasons. I don't know if you guys seen this. If not, would you guys like to guess? 5 teams who started 3-0 the last 5 seasons.
I mean, Georgia's got to be one of them.
You're
Georgia.
saying like they started five seasons in a row. They started 3-0.
Yes. 5 straight seasons starting 3-0. Only 5 teams, which I think is very low. I was surprised it was that low. But this is including this season, by the way. Georgia is one. Joey's right.
Ohio State.
Wrong.
Because they lost I think their Oregon loss was real early.
Yeah, I would say I want to say Oregon might have been one of their early losses.
Is Penn State one?
Penn State.
Nice, good pull.
And so what is this, 3-0 over the last 5 seasons, you said?
Yeah, they started at least 3-0 over the last 5 seasons. Only 5 teams have done it, which I think is such a small pool. Like,
Is it the other 3 teams? Should we know them?
2 of them, yes.
Oregon?
Nope. Dude, that's what I'm saying. It's crazy.
We got Georgia, and you said
Georgia smoked Oregon.
Yeah, Georgia and Penn State. Yeah,
Okay.
Georgia did. Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Definitely not LSU. Definitely not LSU. They always lose the opener.
That's crazy.
They did. They lost like 4 in a row till this year.
Yeah,
I'm stumped.
Well, okay, I'll go ahead and do it. I don't want to spend too much time on this because it's supposed to be quick. So Georgia, Penn State, Oklahoma, Ole
Tennessee?
Miss. No, not Tennessee. Ole Miss and the fucking Rutgers.
Wow.
Really?
So the Rutgers, other 4 teams make a little bit more sense.
The Scarlet Knights?
Yeah, so you got the
Jimmy
Rutgers,
Gates.
Georgia, Oklahoma, Penn State, and Ole Miss. The only 5 schools who've started 3-0 the last 5 seasons.
Hey, let's go ahead and put a fist up for our squads. That's what I'm talking about right there.
Hey, how many dentist academies did Rutgers play in them 3-0 stretches over the
Hey, them being on there is crazy regardless. I don't care.
Wow, I never would have guessed him.
Thought that was an interesting stat. Yeah.
Speaking of a team who would not be on there, who you may have thought prior to this, how bad is Clemson?
Very.
How bad is Dude, Kate Klubnik regressed so bad. At the end of the year, I was like, God, this is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. And now I'm watching, I'm like, can he read cat in a hat, let alone a defense? Like,
I'm kind of at a point where I'm ready to skip to the fun part, and I just ask everybody who they have replacing him next year. I just want to go around the panel. Logan, start us off, man. Who's Clemson's head coach next year, home opener?
Dabo Sweeney.
Bro, Dabo's got that. He's one of those guys that's got that lifetime.
Hey, Dabo is there. Dabo's there until Alabama gets tired of DeBoer.
I think that's his best shot because that's his alma mater. But, dude, he said, like he got into it with Tyler from Spartanburg. At the time, he had it. But now they've won 9 out of the last 10 or 9 of the last 11 ACC championships and won 2 championships in that time and have been to the championship 4 times. There's nothing. Him, Ryan Day, Kirby Smart, and I'm just going to name those guys because those are like the solidified. Those guys can stay at those programs forever. They are not going anywhere.
Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, yeah.
Lane Kiffin can win 10 games for the next 10 years, bro. He's set.
Nah, bro.
That's just being realistic. Unless Nick Saban comes back and says, I want to go to Ole Miss, that man's safe.
Florida fans say he's a Florida lock. Him and Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, Auburn said that. LSU said that. I think he was in the Oklahoma talks when they got an opening before.
Any team with a head coach opening at Lane Kiffin is automatically every time.
Hey, I said it. I said it whenever he didn't go to LSU. If he did not leave Ole Miss to go to LSU, it's going to take an Alabama or something crazy to get him, I think, because I'm going to be honest. As an Ole Miss fan, LSU has got to be way more desirable of a job than we are. I don't care what anyone says. LSU is, I mean, you're talking about they've been a powerhouse for 20 years. Like, they've been winning championships, SEC championships, losing SEC championships. We haven't sniffed one. So it's like, if you're not leaving Ole Miss to go to LSU, I don't know where you might go other than Alabama or – I mean, Florida is definitely desirable, but I don't know, dude. It seems like a dumpster fire over there.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to overcome. I know like Tripp was talking about last week, like, do we got to get rid of the AD, people on that level, but they also did just win a basketball championship. So, I mean, is football really that important, to them to discuss that? Or, is that kind of his saving grace? So
I also believe they're pretty good in baseball as well.
Yeah.
I think they're like top 5. Like, they're pretty damn good. So,
but it's football in Florida. That means more than anything. So
yeah, that's true.
But yeah, Graham, I don't think that bad boy Dabo, he's not going anywhere.
I don't think so.
I mean, I only asked the question or posed the question earlier because where does it go from here? And I mean that realistically. Who's the quarterback recruit coming in after Klubnik? Can any of y'all name him for me? Off the top of y'all head, and that's the first time in a decade I can tell you that. I even knew when I think it wasn't it Kelly Bryant, the kid who ended up transferring to Missouri and stuff like that. I even knew when he was going to, come in and be the starter for that offense. Like Clemson has been a perennial program in the world of college football for the greater part of our lives. You know what I'm saying? And so I think right now is the best time to at least start planning for that, because multiple 7 and 8 win seasons to that Clemson fan base, you might do something to that fan base, that's irreversible. People out in the Carolinas don't care about football the way they do in Georgia football, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, not South Carolina, but Georgia, Bama, Florida. Like, it's not the same out there in the Carolinas as it is out here. And we know that as, all residents of Georgia.
I mean, I will say this. I think Dabo gets a bit of an unfair critique. I know, when you go undefeated and win a national championship and beat Alabama, that's peak. In Alabama, Nick Saban, let's be honest. Their only way from there was down unless he repeats.
Would you replace Fran Brown with Dabo Swinney next year, yes or no, if you could?
No. Dabo Swinney is 181-50 at Clemson.
Okay. I'll tell you right now, I'll stick my neck out there and say I would do that. I would step out and do that and strike while the iron is hot, because Fran Brown will not be coaching at Syracuse in 3 years. He'll be coaching at a better, more desirable program than Clemson.
He might be at Florida.
I'm telling you, bro. How many off seasons is Clemson gonna be able to say we're gonna go toe to toe with Ohio State or some of these programs that's gonna have to replace a coach? And how often does a generational coach come around? You can cycle out a bunch of talented coordinators who can give you a 9-win season here, make a playoff push there, but what you had with Dabo looks like it's in the twilight. It's gone. So are we gonna keep chasing that, or are we gonna try and get somebody in who is gonna be able to take advantage of some of the good recruits we still have? Do we think in 4 years, if Dabo was still there, he's going to be recruiting the way that he is now? Honestly, realistically speaking,
I just wonder.
That's coming in my mind now. At this point, you're not dipping into the NIL bag, crazy. Yeah. You're not dipping into the portal. How often how consistently are you going to be able to convince the nation's best players that you're going to be competitive when you're not being competitive on the admin front, the back end?
Trip, you're about to say something?
Go ahead, Logan.
Graham, just real quick, and then whoever was about to say something, go ahead. But I just want to touch on what Graham, because he's touched on exactly what I'm thinking in my head. Do you guys think that the AD goes to Dabo hey, dude, you got to dive in the portal. We got to quit this shit. We got to get with the program. We got to get with the new age. Dive in the portal, and this is your all or nothing year. Do you think they, out of respect, give him that, or you think this day and age is too cutthroat? They're just cutting him off now and moving on. Do you think they give him the whole hey, let's really take advantage of the NILs and diving into the transfer portal and give him one last year of really focus on that this off season, then we'll regroup? Or do y'all think they just? We all know it's cutthroat. They don't care. They will.
Logan, this was the year. 15 returning starters. Klubnik coming back. 4 first-round draft picks coming back. They gone next year, bro.
That's what I'm saying. Do you think that they give him a chance to hit the portal hard one good time, or they just go ahead and cut losses? I don't know.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I guess this offseason will be the one we find out.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
Yeah.
I think the Dabo mindset worked really well until the NIL rolled around. And as we talked about in previous episodes, that ACC conference is wide open. And if you're not going to pay these guys, somebody named Miami, Florida State, even North Carolina and Duke are going to pay players. So it's not like you're recruiting players off of your brand anymore. These kids want cash. Okay. And that's just it's unfortunate, but that's just how it is now. But to touch on their last couple games, because I know we weren't here a couple weeks back, or at least I wasn't here a couple weeks before. I think first of all, got to give Graham his flowers. He's the only person that picked Tech to beat Clemson when we recorded our last college episode.
This is true. Yeah.
Shout out to Graham. I think there's a couple takeaways from you should have been in the casino with us, man. You would have cashed out.
Man,
I also think it's important to note, and I'm going to give Fran Brown his flowers. He has a damn good program going right now at Syracuse. I think he could beat a lot of teams, and the fact that they're not ranked right now blows my damn mind. Georgia Tech, also a very underrated team right now, and this is just going to prove how wide open that ACC truly is. I mean, Clemson they outgained in yards against Syracuse and still got smoked. I mean, that game looked so lopsided. I watched this literally from beginning to end. It did not even look close from the beginning. Cade Klubnik, if you look at his stats, he didn't have a bad game, but he looked bad playing the game, if that makes sense. So if you're looking at this from a from a stat perspective, you're like, how did they lose this game? If you really watch the game itself, you would be able to tell really quick. But as far as Dabo goes, I don't know. I think, especially because he just got extended, I think, 3 years ago? I think he got like a 7, 8 year extension, if I'm not mistaken. And I may be misquoting that, but I think he's got a long time before, he dissipates out of there. But this could be another Gundy situation that we're talking about a few years from now. It's like, hey, you've done all the right things for all these years. You go consistently bad for a couple. We're going to find somebody that's going to do it right. So, but I would be curious, like you said, Logan, to kind of hear how those conversations in those offices are going of like, hey, man, you got to catch up. These other guys are paying. Like, we got to do something because your brand ain't going to bring those players in anymore. I hate to say it. Like, look at how many recruits that Georgia's losing, that Alabama's losing to these smaller schools that you would never in a million years think. Like Dylan Raiola is a perfect example. If you'd have told me 7 years ago we just lost a 5-star to Nebraska, I would have been like, Nebraska? Are you kidding me? Like we're Georgia, but that's a real life now. So he's got to get with the program, or he's going to have to dip at some point.
Is Brent Key, Fran Brown, Lane Kiffin, or Dillingham going to be available in 3 seasons if Clemson chooses to wait until then to fire Dabo? That's the question that I pose to all Clemson fans at this point. It's looking bleak, man.
Me personally, like I just can't. And you guys are all making very valid points. I get it. I just don't know how you can boot a guy who you were within 10 years of him winning you 2 national championships. Like, to me, that just – I know it's kind of what have you done for me lately in sports, and right, wrong, or indifferent, that is what it is. But there's only one other coach in the sport that can say that, if I'm not mistaken, and that's Kirby Smart.
Yeah, but also –
he's one of 2.
Also, on top of that, like I'm not taking any of those accomplishments away from Dabo. I think that he has a lot more accolades than a lot of coaches do throughout the country. But at some point, you got to put asses in seats, and those are those fans. And these fans are not going to be content with 9-3 seasons consistently. And he can sit there and say, "Oh, I've got this many seasons of 10-2 and 9-3." That's great. But we're in an era, and I'm not saying this for every team, but a program like Clemson, those fans want to see a national championship. It's not like some of these smaller programs that can see 9-3 and go, "Thank God we made it." Like, no. So I think it's not only a matter of we got to take care of these players. You also have to please your fan base at some point, because those are the ones that are paying the bills at the end of the day. So,
and you said a good point that they are kind of championship or bust Clemson fans, and rightfully so. He's the reason for that.
I agree, but if you're not gonna, how long do you let it, dissolve? Like I'm saying, like. I think the problem, and I think this is the point that Graham's trying to make, and I'm not trying to speak for you, Graham, but the trend that we're seeing is down, right? So it's not like he won those national championship and he's still sitting at the top and competing, right? Like, I mean, obviously they made the playoffs last year, but I think what we see out of this Clemson team now, especially like Graham pointed out with the roster that they have, the first round talent, Cade Klubnik comes back and is projected to be a top 5 pick. He's a Heisman favorite quarterback. This is what we're getting out of him. Like, it's just inexcusable. It's not like they don't have the talent and we're like, oh, Dabo's fine. Like, he's going to get his talent back. Like, they have the talent. They're just not executing. So I think that's the problem.
Let's lay out all the context of this season real quick before we move past Clemson, because these dudes stink to a point that we would be remiss to not really break down how stinky the beginning of this season has been for Clemson. 15 returning starters. Returning quarterback who was supposed to be a perennial top 5 draft pick don't even look like a day 2 guy right now. Look like a day 3 guy. If we
day 2 is generous. Day 2 is generous.
So let's be honest. Hires Tom Allen from Penn State, considered the best defensive coordinator in the nation by a wide regard, barring 1 or 2 people. That's the guy who you have coaching a defense that has 4 potential first-round picks on it. And that's looking like the worst part of your team. You have a better wide receiving core than you had last year, and you're about to finish with a worse record. To me, man, I wouldn't be so big on really looking at the, potential replacement of Dabo if I wasn't so worried about the coaching market in 3 years from now. It doesn't look like it's as plentiful as it used to be.
Yeah, there's a
Who
lot
are
of
the
market
coordinators and the
around,
guys
yeah.
that jump out to you that like you would really replace him with once we know the guys like Brent Key, Frank, those names that I keep mentioning. We know those guys will not be at Tech, Arizona State, and who am I leaving out that I mentioned earlier?
Graham Brown.
Syracuse.
They're not going to be there in 3 years. We know that. And if Clemson doesn't strike, we know Florida going to take care of their situation. If Elko don't take care of his situation, A&M ain't never minded swapping them out. These are teams that they don't mind doing that and playing that game. So, the market isn't friendly to those who hold their hands in their pockets. And Clemson is keeping a coach within the driver's seat who keeps his hands in the pockets. He can't take advantage of this talented roster, an AD and a backroom staff who can't take advantage of the times and the market that's available to them right now. Is to me, I'm very worried about that Clemson situation, but I know we got plenty of other good stuff to talk about. So
I want to leave this with one more fact. Sorry, Logan. I'm going to say one sentence and that's it. The top 7 portal classes from last year are 27-0 right now. I know we're only 4 weeks in, but I'm just going to leave that there.
That's
the top
crazy.
7 portal classes
What a damn stat, dude.
are 27-0 on the season right now. So anybody who says, "Oh, we can survive without the portal," you're lying to yourself. Look yourself.
Drop a bomb for Trip. That was
okay. Transfer portal trip, bro. Transfer portal trip. Okay. Great stat. I was just gonna quickly say, since 2015, Dabo Swinney has 119 wins. If you want to go back further, since the 2010 season, 161. Since 2015, they have, I think it was like 19 losses. I was just counting. I mean, like, I'm with you, Joey. Like, I'm the same way. Like, letting a guy like that go is bizarre. But I'm also kind of with Graham. In 3 years, if you keep letting this shit go on, who's left? With that being said, in the next 3 years, someone's going to make a name for themselves. Obviously, it's college football. It transforms by the week.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
There's some guys out there that really look like they could. I don't know if I see Brent Key going from Georgia Tech to Clemson. I honestly don't know, because the good thing about Tech is you're in Atlanta. Like, you're at the hub, you're at the hub.
And he played there.
Yeah. So, like, in 3 years, Brent Key, I think, could be at Tech, to be honest, solely because it's Atlanta, dude. You can recruit to Atlanta. That's not an issue, especially in the ACC, where you could easily be winning the ACC as they keep going up. And, I mean, yeah, there's your Miami, your Florida State, Clemson's are still going to be around. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence, because it's like I could kind of see Clemson throwing their hands up and be like, what the hell? But at the same time, going to what Tripp said, let's not act like they weren't just in the college football playoffs last year. So it's like, as much as, like I said, Dabo gets critiqued a little much, in my opinion, because, like, when you really truly sit back and look at it, it's like it gets really loud around him when he wins or loses a couple games. But if you really step back and look, you're like, it's not like he's losing a lot of games. Like, it's a couple of year, and every couple each year, it's getting louder and louder for sure. I think if he won a couple playoff games this year, or they're not going to make it probably, but like, say they give him another shot next year, he wins a couple playoff games, I think it'd go silent. Everybody be right back on the bandwagon to Dabo. I really think so.
I don't think losing a couple games is the problem. I think you're losing games you're not supposed to lose. They were 16.5-point favorites against Syracuse.
Well, this year they are.
And they got throttled. That's my point, is that they're not losing these games. They're getting throttled by teams that they're over 2 touchdown favorites against. So that's where the question marks come into play. If they're losing to Miami or Florida State, I'm like, hey, whatever. They lost to a premier program that's top in the country right now. And I'm not saying Tech and Syracuse are terrible programs by any means, but
they're on the
you got to take care of business where you got to take care of business. That's where I'm going to leave it.
No, I mean, I agree.
All those years that Dabo won the ACC, how many good teams were there in the conference besides Florida State? I don't mean to be that guy, but I do want to genuinely pose that question.
I mean, you can say that about the ACC for its entire existence, though. ACC's never been a powerhouse. We all know that. Just because they call it a Power 5 don't mean shit. It's really SEC and Big 12. We know that.
But it's starting to look like one.
They were an ACC team that recruited like an SEC team.
Big 10, my bad.
And it looked that way for a while. I will always give him his flowers for that. So, yeah, it'll be a good one to rehash plenty of times down the line.
Oh, yeah,
well,
sure.
I'm just going to – because we spent a lot of time on this, but there is a lot to unpack with that loss. I will say, kind of like you were saying, Graham, look at what I've done when you have losing records kind of does fall on deaf ears after a while. So Hopefully he doesn't have to, resort to that. But appreciate everybody who's still tuned in with us at this point. Let's get into our teams a little bit. Georgia obviously had the off week, but we didn't get together to talk about the Georgia-Tennessee thriller. Trip was running the blackjack table when I was going on. Let me tell y'all, Trip, my witness, the Hard Rock Cafe casino in Hollywood, Florida, so we'll call it Miami, is probably the coolest sports setup I've ever seen in my life. So like most casinos, they've got a sports book where they show all the sports. You can place all your bets, all that good stuff. Well, they got freaking blackjack tables in there. So people are watching sports, gambling their lives away. And it was so cool because everybody who's watching those games, most people don't care about the fandom. They care about, oh my God, I've got money on this. But me, myself, I stood in one spot, didn't sit down because of the insane cover charge I had. We watched the whole thing. I kept my streak going. I'm not watching go ahead or game-winning kicks or game-tying kicks. I turned around when Tennessee kicked that last field goal, and they missed, so I'm going to keep that going. I've been doing that ever since, probably for like 4 years when Georgia beat Ohio State. I was turned around too. But my biggest takeaway is, like, obviously there were some things that we didn't like to see. Ellis Robinson got his first real playing time, didn't look super good. I think there's a lot more factors into that than what it looks like. But just you could tell it had some big eyes playing out there. But these guys, man, they do not quit. You go up on 3 or 4 scores on them, they do not quit. That shit is not over till that clock hits 0. And me being a Georgia fan for so long, seeing all those games that they would have lost, and see them being able to do that so many times, I can't even put it into words how incredible it is. Just the point. I mean, Gunnar Stockton, who I've been critical, I wasn't super big on him, makes the throw of all throws to London Humphreys to go ahead, throws the freaking little flat route to Zach Branson tied up, and then we almost ended it in one play. So wow, what a freaky game though. And we had another really big game. Was it that night when Notre Dame and A&M played, and A&M just won at the very end of it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. That was the same night, man. It was
what
the same day of football. Yeah.
But I don't hate anybody more than I hate Tennessee. And the fact that we've pulled off 9 in a row against them boys, this was the first one it wasn't double digits. Chef's kiss.
I'll jump in here. Can't name a better way to start a bachelor trip. So, like Joey said, we were chilling in Miami at the Hard Rock. I've been to Vegas more times than I can count, and that's the coolest casino I've ever seen in my life, especially from a sportsbook perspective. I was on the blackjack table, but I was having to get told multiple times, like, hey, sir, you got cards in front of you, because I'm sitting there locked into the screen. What a game, man. I mean, that was an offensive show out from both sides. And I'm going to give Aguilar his flowers too. That kid is something special. And I think that they definitely won when it came to who they were deciding to pick as their quarterback this year. Secondary looked a little bit sketchy. And that's what worries me about going into this next week. But overall, I mean, all the question marks that I think we all talked about with Gunnar Stockton, going, on the road and doing something like that is special from anybody, especially from a kid getting his first true road start. So shout out to Gunnar. That throw on 4th down was one of the better throws I've ever seen. And that's a non-biased opinion. I had one of our best friends, a Florida fan, tell me that's the best throw he's ever seen in college football, which that's a little bit of a stretch. But that was the most nervous I've ever been playing against Tennessee in a long time. And it proved to be why. But yeah, go Dogs.
I guess to follow up off Trip, to hit on a couple of different points that, maybe he didn't. I felt like the secondary did obviously have some obvious blips and moments where they were the clear outlier of the game. A lot of those big explosives, I think 3 of them stood out in particular, way more than 3 throughout the game. There were 3 in particular that just really kept the momentum in Tennessee's favor and kept Georgia in a position of where they were kind of, against the ropes for the entire game. But I couldn't help but think that the secondary was struggling because our front 4, front 5 have struggled to get home all year. it's very tough for a secondary to stay on top of guys and cover receivers, especially when they're as talented and have top end speed like Heupel's, Tennessee receivers have tend to, have over these last couple of years, especially. So that is something that stuck out to me. Besides Christian Miller, the defensive front has, worried me for the last couple of weeks, but it is something that will have to be addressed going into the Alabama game, not to jump into that, because one of those two units is going to have to make their mind up. Either the secondary is going to have to go back to clamping shit, or we're going to have to, start getting home to these quarterbacks, because we didn't sack Aguilar once. I think maybe we got like a little TKO sack, one of those ones where like you hug the quarterback up real close and the ref just stops the game, but we didn't get a real sack on them, whereas they got 4 on us. So the fronts on both sides continue to be worrisome, but as Joey put it earlier, a team that never quit. Coach Kirby Smart actually, said earlier this week in press conferences when asked about it, he said he felt like that this team fights harder than last year's team, and he just simply he put it straightforward as that, and that couldn't match my assessment of the team any better. I don't think that we look particularly better in any area right now as far as offense or defense besides generating those explosive plays. We can obviously say that those plays that Zachariah Branch and obviously the big catch from Humphreys are plays that we had drops on or miscues on last year often. So it's good to see us address that. But beyond that, a lot of question marks with Georgia. But one thing you can't question is the heart and the soul of this team, along with their coach. So go Dogs, as Tripp said.
Also, Georgia is 117th in the nation in sacks right now. That's a problem.
That's brutal.
That's crazy for Kirby Smart defense.
Here's a stat. Check this one out. Georgia is 60-0 when they score 35 points or more. Under Kirby Smart. 60-0. So if they put 35 up, seems like they're winning. They'll definitely need to do it this week, but we're going to get to it. And honestly, Tennessee kind of, not to discredit them because they, they fought the whole time too. But like that touchdown they threw over Daniel Harris where he bats the ball and it hits dude in the face mask, there's a lot of bad breaks. Ellis Robinson basically tackles a dude and he somehow survives it and catches a touchdown. So, but my God, what a win. And not a better team to do it over, honestly, except for maybe the team that's coming up this week. But Logan, if you don't want to add anything to this game, let's talk about your Rebels putting it on Tulane. Graham called that a trap game.
I will say this. Hold on one second.
What was I wrong?
Hold on. Pump the brakes on Ole Miss. I want to get into this Georgia action.
They won 25-3.
What?
No, sorry, go ahead, bro. My fault.
Okay. Aguilar might be the best quarterback I've seen at Tennessee since Peyton Manning. I'm going to go ahead and say it. Who's been better since Peyton Manning?
I'd say Josh Dobbs was really good.
Didn't T. Martin go after Peyton Manning?
Yeah, he won a championship.
Okay.
I don't know if I would go back that far. I don't know if he's better than Josh Dobbs, but they had a stretch where they had Garantano. He was horrible. God, who's dude that Eric Stokes sacked?
McCoy.
I can't think of his name. Is it McCoy? But we watched them have 3 phenom prospects that in every big
Marietta. Not even trying to hate on Buddy, but didn't they have a stud out of Marietta who won state with them? He won with Olajari.
I think it's out of Harrison.
Yeah.
I know you're talking. I forget his name was Harrison Bailey, I think. Maybe he wasn't out of Harrison. His name was Harrison Bailey, I think.
No, it's Harrison Bailey. He played with Aziz Olajari, BJ Olajari, on that 2020, I think either 2019 or 2020.
I think Reed Gilbert's on that squad too.
Yep. Really good team, man. Yeah, those Blue Devils, but yeah, man.
I think
I get your point, Logan, but I also think we still early in the season, and that secondary from Georgia is very questionable right now. I think the defensive front will get addressed before that does.
But that's not the only game. I mean, Aguilar never once looked like deer in headlights. He was ready for the moment from the first snap, and that's what was most impressive because Hendon Hooker. There's a lot of past Tennessee quarterbacks getting inside these Georgia games, and it's not the same when you're not playing like an Auburn. Shout out to Auburn, nothing against them, but Georgia Tennessee's just got a different feel going in. We all know that.
Nico, Joe Milton, and Hendon Hooker played terrible.
Yeah,
in 4 games against Georgia, they all played horrible.
Yeah. But just to go not to go too deep into this week, but this was a crazy week of college football. So you have Georgia winning in overtime. Obviously, Tennessee misses the kick at the end of that game that they could have been winners just as easily as they lost. You have A&M kicking the field goal to beat Notre Dame at the end of the game. And this is also the same week where Georgia Tech kicked the 55-yarder to upset Clemson at the end of the game. So that was dude, I was watching football that Saturday, and I was just like, dude, we've had good game after good game, or great game after great game after great game. Like, shout out to that week. That's the most fun I've had watching football in a long time, like college football in a long time, because I just remember watching those 3 games, like, holy shit, like, we could not get any better games than these 3 straight. So I just want to say shout out to all weekend football.
There was a plethora, dude. And then we watched DJ put it in the bag way, throw 5 picks.
Oh, yeah. That, yeah.
Seems like we lost Graham. I don't know where he went.
Oh, I didn't know if he just moved his camera on or what.
So we'll get him added back in here. But Logan, were you about to get into something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, since you want me to talk about Ole Miss so bad, I'm gonna go ahead and get into that. So same week, Ole Miss played Arkansas, which was at the time still at the time our biggest test. Second quarter, we scored 24 points. We scored 41 altogether. It is kind of scary to see we had one quarter where we exploded, and the rest of the game, I mean, a touchdown per quarter is not terrible. And I mean, Arkansas also had 21 in that game, that quarter. So, I mean, that game, I think, was kind of what I expected, a close, hard-fought game. It always is against Arkansas. But my biggest takeaway, I posted on my story, I'm even more on this bandwagon right now. I said Trinidad Chambliss might be Ole Miss's starter because Simmons was looking very rocky. We kept talking about that through the first couple weeks, but luckily, we got it out against Kentucky, and then we played Georgia State, I think it was week 1, or Southern. I don't know. I can never remember which one of those two. But either way, we didn't really play much. So you bring in Trinidad Chambliss for Arkansas and Tulane. I agree with Graham that that's a trap. Excuse me, a trap game. Tulane always plays us good. People don't realize, but Ole Miss and Tulane actually have a pretty big history, and that's always, especially the last 5 to 10 years, been a good game. In the past, Tulane was not much. But with that being said, Trinidad James in 2 games has thrown for 719 yards, and he's thrown for 4 touchdowns. Austin Simmons in 2 games had 580 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So Trinidad can run. I'm not even talking about Trinidad's legs right now. This is just straight in the pocket passing. And I think Trinidad's legs is what adds to it because bro is agile on his feet, bro. Ole Miss has running quarterbacks. We've had some quarterbacks who will run through your chest and not care. Bo Wallace would do it. He wasn't the most fast guy, but he would run through your chest and not care. Chad Kelly the same way. Matt Corral the same way. Jackson Dart the same way. So it's like Shea Patterson for the year we had him, loved to dance around the pocket and try to Johnny Manziel every damn thing. But seeing a quarterback like Chambliss is just, I don't think we've ever had someone like that because Chambliss doesn't dance around behind the line of scrimmage like Shea Patterson would. He just goes and gets yards, and he has no problem doing it. So I'll be honest, if Chambliss is not starting this week, Lane Kiffin, it might get loud, or Simmons has to be on a very, 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 very short leash. And I mean, if you go 3 and out to start the game, you're out, pal. Chambliss is in. I literally mean that short of a leash. I think Chambliss has to be our starter going forward, especially against LSU coming up this week. Talking about Ole Miss, I can't talk about anything but the quarterback situation because all 4 of us sat on this panel 2 weeks ago talking about how rocky Simmons looks. He gets hurt, Chambliss comes in, and then it's an entire different offense. It's insane.
I was just gonna say, I was blown away by how good he looked as comparison to Simmons, because Simmons comes into campus or comes into the year of the guy. So I really like what I saw from him. I do want to clarify though, when you were talking about him earlier, you definitely said Trinidad James.
Trinidad Chambliss, my fault.
1,000%. I was like,
the gold got me going crazy.
No, what?
All in my chain. But no, if I said that, my bad. Good catch. I appreciate you correcting my dumb ass. But dude, Trinidad, 2 weeks ago we were talking about Ole Miss. I'm like, I don't know what the hell we are. I still don't know what the hell we are. But it's a lot more exciting knowing that you have a quarterback who can play ball. I'll tell you that much. I'm excited going into this LSU game. And one crazy thing, I screenshotted it, sent to my pops earlier because I thought it was insane. So right now, going in, or this was earlier, so maybe things changed. Going into LSU, it is a home game. Going into LSU, we are 2.5-point favorites with a 73.3% win matchup predictor percentage, which I think is insane. I don't know how in the hell we're going to play
Wow.
number 4 LSU as that big of a matchup predictor favorite. And I mean, I know it's only 2.5 points, but 73% chance of winning playing number 4 LSU is insane to me. But it don't matter until it happens. I'm not letting that get me excited. I think we do have a shot because Chambliss has looked really good, brought some life into the offense. LSU hasn't looked great, I don't think. I mean, yeah, they beat Florida and had 5 picks, but on paper, Florida was marching downfield and throwing picks every time. Like they were moving the ball. They just couldn't get in the end zone. So, I mean, I think LSU hasn't looked great, which gets me a little excited, but this is always the games where teams step up. So it's going to be us step up or they step up. Maybe we both step up and it's a barn burner and it's, last team that gets the ball wins. Who knows? But I'm definitely excited for some LSU Ole Miss this weekend. I will say that.
And we're going to get into predicting that here in a little bit.
I won't predict yet. But
either of you two fellas got anything to add to Ole Miss?
No, I like leaving it to the experts sometimes.
We definitely got one.
Yeah.
Hey, I will say defense has not looked great. I want that to be known before Garrett Nussmeier throws for 500. Our defense has looked very suspect.
So y'all are looking back to your normal selves. That's good to hear, my friend.
It's not good to hear, but it is true. It's a little different when you don't have when you have 8 guys go to the NFL off defense, which Ole Miss has never had. So
you're right, man.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into our predictions, I want to bring up this week SEC teams were announced their 3 permanent opponents for the next 4 years. So how it works is these 3 teams are going to play every year, and then they're going to alternate the 3 guaranteed teams after the 4 years. So SEC actually released, and I'm going to get it pulled up right here, released all schedules through 2029. Let me refresh this. Through 2029 for each team. And let me see if I get this thing up.
I'm about to share screen with you, Joey. Oh, you got it.
Boom. I got you, baby. All right. So let's
Hey Joey, see if mine's easier to read. Mine might be a little easier to read.
Okay, here. Well,
make the call. I'm just saying. I don't know if you can zoom in.
I pulled up something different. I'm pulling up like their actual entire conference schedules. But
okay,
we'll look at this first. Because as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, these are our 3. Each team has their 3 teams that they're going to be playing, guaranteed next 4 years. Tennessee got an absolute blessing. If you want to scroll down to their slogan, they got absolutely blessed with Kentucky and Vanderbilt. So Kentucky kind of got abused, per usual. Georgia's got Auburn, Florida, and South Carolina, which growing up, those were that I watched them play every year. Obviously, South Carolina is the only one that haven't played in a while, but I do consider South Carolina a rival.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you.
So I'm excited to see that one get restored. They're actually beating Williams-Brice this year. So assuming I have the same arrangement, I will be there to watch that.
As an unbiased opinion, I do think it's crazy y'all are playing South Carolina instead of Tennessee. Like, as an Ole Miss fan, I hate not seeing Georgia, Tennessee on my schedule or on y'all's schedule, but for me to watch.
Well, I'm actually going to get to that here in a second. Logan, real quick, who are Ole Miss, if you want to go to theirs real quick?
Ole Miss has the toughest one in my books.
I think Ole Miss I think they got it wrong by 1, just like Georgia. I think Georgia, they got it wrong. It should have been Tennessee over South Carolina. Ole Miss versus Oklahoma makes 0 sense to me. I think a team like Auburn would make more sense, especially considering we've played in the SEC West for years and years and years. And then if you add on to that, for those of you who don't know, Tommy Tuberville was at Ole Miss in a press conference, said, for them to make me leave Ole Miss, you'd have to carry me out in a pine box. He literally left that season and went to fucking Auburn. So that has a lot of Ole Miss fans hold that against Auburn. Not that it's Auburn's fault, but it just puts some animosity there. On top of that, you got Hugh Freeze, who was at Ole Miss for 5-6 seasons, somewhere around up in there. He's now at Auburn. You add on that we played them every year in SEC West. I think a team like Auburn would make more sense. I don't know if Auburn's the answer, but to me, Oklahoma should be playing like the Missouris and the Texas and the A&Ms. That would make sense for Oklahoma's 3, in my opinion. But
a lot of deep pool connections there. Good work, my friend.
I mean, I've been watching all this football since the time I could speak, So LSU, I'm cool with. We should play LSU every year. Mississippi State, obviously, in-state rival, Egg Bowl. Got to have that on there. So LSU and Mississippi State, I think, were locks. The third one, I think, could go to a couple teams. I think Auburn makes sense. I think Arkansas would have made more sense than Oklahoma. I don't know if they make the most sense, but they make more sense than Oklahoma. I think Bama would have made a lot of sense, even though they own us, and I would love not to play Bama, but they would have made more sense in Oklahoma. And there was Vanderbilt. When we were in the West, Vanderbilt was the one team we played every year in the East. So I think Vandy would have made sense too. I mean, I guess Vanderbilt's on the rise, so it's not really a cupcake like it was before. But Oklahoma's the only one, but they're also brand new to the conference, so they got to build rivals somehow. But I just think the former Big 12 matchup of Missouri, A&M, and Texas would have made the most sense. But, hey, I'm sitting here behind a panel with three handsome men where they got millions of dollars backing the guys who are doing it over there, so maybe they got something going on.
Well, I like a lot of the points that Logan made, but I also heard when Tripp had mentioned that, he felt like Ole Miss had the toughest slate. The only other team that I beg the question to oppose that is Arkansas got a hell of a damn slate, man.
Yes.
I don't know if Logan would be able to pull or just run back the three teams that they have, but for what Arkansas is capable of doing, and for the level of recruit that they're able to bring in on a consistent basis, to have Missouri, it was like Missouri,
Texas, LSU,
Texas and LSU.
That's brutal.
That's nuts, man. Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, if you look here, and apologize if you can't read this super well, but the SEC released all the SEC opponents for the next 4 years. So not all the dates and everything. But Logan, I do want to point out to this: Georgia does play Tennessee next year. So it's not like that game's going forever. But I agree. I would like to see them play every year. But the game I'm most excited about on this is in 2027. The Dogs are finally making the trip to Kyle Field.
Hey, see if it'll let you zoom, Joey. It let me zoom, so I don't know if it will you. But mine was also a picture, not like a link, so maybe that's why.
Yeah. Here, let me.
I mean, if not, that's cool. Go ahead. I'm not trying to hold it up, but
no.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it won't let me zoom. But if you put it on full screen, at least I did. It should be able to see better. But
yeah, my bad.
Let me tell you who I'm looking here who got hosed. Auburn in 2028. If you're looking at this, at Alabama, at Georgia, at Florida, at LSU.
Jeez.
That could be the worst away schedule I've ever seen in my life.
They're trying to make Auburn join the Sun Belt, man.
I guess. Something like that. So Georgia next year we're going to be at Carolina, at Bama, at Arkansas, and at Ole Miss. And then next year is the beginning also of the Mercedes-Benz and Raymond James games hosting the Georgia-Florida game. So next year it's in Atlanta. 2027 it's in Tampa. And then it resumes in Jacksonville in 2028. So it can be really exciting to see. But it's cool. I mean, as you see, they just released this probably an hour and a half ago. So really cool to see, though. And we get that extra conference game. So I think you're going to see a lot of 3-win teams get into the 3-loss teams get into the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair point, man. A lot of these schedules is way too loaded to be expecting 3 and 4 2-loss teams to be making it out of these gauntlet, schedules at the end of the year.
Yeah, it's going to get brutal. Trip, I thought you were about to say something. If you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I got about this is I'm kind of with Logan. I was really shocked to not see Tennessee as one of them, but I do think that Georgia has a lot of rivals, and Auburn is one of the deepest ones, so I really didn't want to see that one leave, but I could see it being interchanged with South Carolina. The good thing is we'll still play Tennessee every other year, so we'll still be able to get our lick every year on them every once in a while. So,
yeah.
Other than that, though, I don't know how I feel about this yet. I think that it does build strength of schedules. As a Georgia fan, we'll always still have Tech as one of our out-of-conference opponents, so that really only leaves room for 2 other games. So curious as to where that's going to lie. But, I mean, like Joey said, we could start seeing some 3-loss teams sneak in. So we'll see how that pans out in the near future.
Graham, you got anything, buddy?
No, I'm good, man. I'm ready to make these picks.
Well, let's go
I've been
ahead and
having
get
these picks
into
up my sleeve since my lunch break, man.
Oh
I
yeah.
think the thing that catches me up most about the Tennessee is I'm really big on the the tradition rival games. And I just hate to see that go away more and more. It seems like every 3 years, 5 years, something like that. It just seems like with the conference realignments and all that, you're just getting rid of a lot of these big rivalries. And the
But
thing
is
about college
is
football is how much
Tennessee a rival right now
the
after
thing
9 in a
about
row?
college football though is the traditions, you know.
Hey,
So like
Trip,
it just,
they had
100%
9 in a
agree.
row on us. They had 9 in a row on us, like within the 2000s, bro. I hate to be that guy, but it is true. We broke it at like 9, I think.
I think tradition and hatred makes rivalry, no
Yeah.
matter what. Because
Yeah.
Ohio State had a run on Michigan like that, where it was like 7, 8 years in a row. But my God, they still in Ohio, they still blank out every M during that week. So, for me, that's why like a lot of people don't hate Georgia Tech because I mean Georgia's dominated for so much. But me personally, I grew up with a dad who went to Georgia, and when his time was there, Georgia Tech was enemy number one. So I agree with Logan that the tradition and the hatred that stems from is what makes a rival. But Tennessee's definitely a part of that. So, um, yeah. So let's get into it, fellas. So got some games here. Kicking off at noon. We've got USC at Illinois. Illinois obviously got ran out of the building against Mendoza, Signetti and company as at the Hoosiers. I don't know if you're going to see them getting ran out of the building per se, but like Graham was saying earlier, that USC offense, despite the competition, has really been clicking, and it really hasn't ever since Lane Kiffin, offensive guru, has been there. Or I said Lane Kiffin, Lincoln Riley, the offensive guru, has been there. But they seem to look good. I think this is a great week. I don't think Illinois is getting off the mat this week. I think USC 6.5 point favorite, which while I mentioned favorites, when we pick winners, we will never pick spreads. You hear me? It is winner or loser. College game day doing that pissed me off.
Joey was getting so mad in Miami watching them do that on
That is
College
so
Game Day.
insulting.
That shit was so funny.
You said pick what?
We're never we're picking winners or losers. We're not picking teams to cover.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, fuck no.
ESPN bet. You can thank them for that.
Yeah. Oh, I get it, but it's still terrible. Hey, Trip, I know we need to here. We can actually pull it up while we talk about it because this team brings me up to something. The polls. There's been a lot of questions about that. Would you, if you didn't look at this, would you be able to tell me who the only one-loss team is that is in the top 25 in week 5?
You said there's only one loss team?
Oh yeah. And
No, there's
when you
multiple.
see it, you'll be like, "Oh, duh, that makes sense."
There's Michigan, there's Bama, there's Texas, there's 3 of them.
Illinois.
Oh,
Yeah.
I meant
Yeah.
one win team. If I said one loss, I'm sorry. I meant one win
Notre
team.
Dame. What do you
Oh,
expect?
oh.
One team scared to join a conference.
I've been waiting on this. I have been waiting on
Go
this.
ahead, brother.
You want me to go on my spill?
Yes. It's spill
First
time.
of all, whoever does these AP polls, I don't know what their credentials have to be, but sign me up because I look at this every week and I go, what in the hell am I looking at right now? Not all the way across the board. I mean, I think for the most part, a lot of them could be interchanged. Like I think there's some teams that should be higher than others or lower than others. Never understood why Illinois was number 9 last week, and then that proved it why. Notre Dame still being in these rankings, I feel like the only thing that makes sense is that these AP voters live in the past and they're not looking at what's on paper right now. And for anybody that says, "Oh, but they only lost by 3 total points in the first 2 weeks," guess what? They still lost. Okay, if my ex cheated on me, she still cheated on me. So let's call a spade a spade.
Heard that.
My thing is you can see some very clear favoritism when it comes to some of these programs just because of the name, which I get to an extent, but in all reality, I'm going to leave it at that. None of this shit matters until the college football playoff rankings come out. So this is just to keep things interesting until then. But
that is egregious. No question about it. That is horrible.
Why, if that's the case, rank Clemson.
Oh, and you know what? Looking back at the schedule now, because that reminded me of it. Glad that you went on that rant. I think this game right here, this Arkansas Notre Dame, that is 1-3 waiting to happen.
I agree.
That is 1-3 waiting to happen.
I
ain't
think they win that
necessarily
game.
buying, and I see them bouncing back this week, man.
I mean, they won last week, but I mean, let me see, they gave up 30. Their defense is their calling card. They gave up 30 to Purdue. And I know obviously football doesn't work like, because they play like this against this team, they are going to do this against that team. But that defense is your calling card. You're letting 30 hang Purdue on you, or Purdue hang 30 on you. That's very questionable. And you got Taylor Green, who is not the most polished quarterback, obviously, but at the college level is a playmaker. I'm going to take Notre Dame. Looks like they're a 3.5-point favorite. You know what? Actually, I'm picking Arkansas. I'm going Arky. I think this keeps Pit Boss's job.
Freeman takes care of business. Notre Dame wins by 10 points at least. That's my pick.
Yeah, I'm taking Notre Dame to cover that spread with ease. I mean, they have to win every game the rest of the season. So I don't see a world where they let one of them slip right here, personally. But who knows? Maybe Sam Pittman pulls one out of his ass.
Logan, you're on mute, brother.
Sorry, the cough has still not left the building, so I was trying to mute myself and forgot. Okay. I think Notre Dame, Arkansas, they lost to Memphis, dude. I mean, Memphis looks solid this year, but I don't know. They could have easily beat Memphis, and Taylor Green didn't look as good in the Memphis game as he had against even us. Like, I don't know. I could see, Arkansas winning it, but I think Notre Dame wins it, and then somehow they'll jump up to 13 next week. But
yeah, exactly. All the rationale they needed to do that. Okay, well, I'm the lone wolf on that one. That's okay.
And then also USC, Illinois. Did we all pick that one or no? I feel like it was just Joey.
I'm sorry, because Trip brought up. That's my bad. Trip brought up the polls. That's 100% my fault. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But I'll go ahead and touch on that real quick. I don't know if I believe in either one of these teams, but I'm going to just don't really believe in Lincoln Riley at USC. I feel like at Oklahoma believed in him. USC, maybe it's a Caleb Williams effect why I stopped believing in him. I don't know. But I'm just going to go ahead and just throw the random Illinois. I don't know if it really happens, but my boy Luke Altmaier is there from Ole Miss. I watched him play at Georgia Tech when we thraxed them a few years ago. He got a little PT at the end. So I'm going to go Luke Altmaier, bounce back game, and leads Illinois to a top 25 victory. Just because fuck USC, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Go ahead, Graham.
You're on mute, brother.
I was surprised Jaden Maeva wasn't on the Heisman watch list earlier, just because of how impressive him and that offense have been looking. But give me the Trojans to pick up another dub this week and continue on their undefeated start. I do see them being kind of a playoff dark horse at this point, man. That offense looks I'm not going to call them unstoppable, but they're in command of themselves. Nobody is in, command of that offense when they're on the field. They control their own narratives, and they got enough playmakers, especially this Lemon. I'm not sure the young man's first name, but Lemon, their slot receiver, he's looking like one of the more impressive receivers in the entire nation. And, of course, they also got Jacoby Myers as well. So not Jacoby Myers, but it was another young man, I think number 8 on their team, a couple of talented receivers. So give me the Trojans in that game, man.
All right. So, Trip, go ahead. You're the last one.
Yeah, short and sweet. I think USC covers this spread 3 times. Just gonna throw that out there.
And by the way, when I said we're not picking spreads earlier, I mean that if, let's see, Texas A&M is favored by 6.5, you're gonna say I have Auburn covering but still losing. We're not doing that.
No,
that's what we're not doing. But
I just think
when
USC
he
is about
says
to blow the
take the
doors off.
spread, he's very confident in that they're gonna win.
I got USC blowing the doors off in this one.
Yeah. So
hey, I just want to say I know my pick is very homer. Okay. I'm just rooting for the former Ole Miss quarterback. All right.
Well,
just so that when it happens, y'all. Just so when it happens, USC dominates. Y'all not like this idiot. Like it's a homer pick. All right. I'm rooting for the former Ole Miss quarterback. I respected that he went and got a playing opportunity because he was not starting over Jackson Dart. So, just want to throw that out there real quick.
I think most fans feel that way when they see somebody who didn't get their shine behind somebody who they weren't better than. Like when we saw Brock Vandagriff go to Kentucky, even though that crashed and burned, unfortunately, for what it's worth. I think we were all pretty excited for him on that. So that gets us into the 3:30 slate. We got number 4 LSU at Ole Miss. Ole Miss 1.5 point favorite per ESPN right now. Got some big news this week. Whit Weeks dropped the nuke. Dating Lane Kiffin's daughter. So I could be some infiltration. You know, she's trying to infiltrate the LSU defense. You know, who knows what that could be. I know I showed y'all Whit Weeks' nickname per message boards. So not going to get too deep into that.
Go ahead and share it, Joey.
Say what?
Share it for the viewers who didn't see it.
No, I'm not doing that. All right. LSU on the road against Ole Miss. I think both teams definitely have some questions in some areas, but the offensive, like, it just inconsistent. I don't think have they put up 30 yet, Ole Miss, or LSU?
No, they haven't.
I mean, they've played La Tech. I think it was a couple weeks ago. Last week they played. God, I don't know. I'm drawing a blank on this.
They played Clemson, obviously.
That's right. Yeah, they played Clemson. Didn't really, put up a ton of points against them. In Florida, they threw DJ Lagway threw 5 picks, and you only put up 20 points. And then he got mad at that reporter asking about why the offense struggled. It was just a very legitimate question, and I think those struggles. Nussmeier was my Heisman pick, but I think he's just, unless this is the game where he just turns into that Heisman guy, I don't see that happening anymore. I got Ole Miss. I'm taking Ole Miss on this one. I think you're going to see Chambliss get a lot of snaps, and it's going to be an appearance by Oliver, and it's also going to be where he solidifies himself as a starter. Like Logan said, I think he's got Simmons has a really short leash, and if he comes out and doesn't get it done, you're going to see Chambliss early if he doesn't start. So I'm going to roll with the Rebels.
Start us off, Logan. This is your team right here. I want to hear all of it.
Last, bro. Y'all got it.
That's fair.
All right, I'll go. I think there's a couple things that are really important to look at into this game, but I'm going to start with the almost not important. Lane Kiffin said take the over on Twitter based on those tweets about his daughter. So if Lane Kiffin's saying take the over and he's making play calls, I believe this is actually going to be a true shootout for Logan's definition of a shootout. But a couple important things here. I think I saw on ESPN earlier, Ole Miss has the worst rushing defense in the SEC right now, and LSU has been thriving off of their run game, so I think that could be a factor. But I also saw ESPN is their percentage of Ole Miss making the playoffs is 78% if they beat LSU Saturday. I think that lights a fire under this Ole Miss team. I know we didn't get into too much of the polls. I think LSU is very overrated. I think they're a good football team, but I don't think they're the 4th best team in the country by any means. So I think Ole Miss is about to prove that to everybody this week.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and follow up with Trip, seeing as we're going to let, our good old Ole Miss homer go last, and Logan. I do think that the stakes are a little bit more in the favor of Ole Miss in terms of what they can come away from this game with a win. I think that LSU right now is a team that is struggling to identify with where their true strength is, because going into this season, we all knew that they were going to more than likely identify that as Garrett Nussmeier in that offense. So right now, honestly, that defense looked better than the offense. If I'm being honest about LSU, I got more faith in their defense than their offense. As Joey said earlier, they haven't even scored 30 points yet. So if the playoff stakes and everything else that's at stake at this point in the season with coming away with a win wasn't enough for Ole Miss to be motivated, all this shit that's got to do with Lane Kiffin's daughter, dealing with the big boss's, daughter is always something that's going to light a fire under the player. So I got Ole Miss. I think we're going to go 4 for 4 with this one, man. We got Ole Miss, coming away with a dub this week.
All right, for the grand finale, the Ole Miss pick. Go ahead, my Reb.
Okay, I'm going to touch on what Tripp said about Ole Miss's run defense. I do think our run defense is abysmal. And one thing that did last week, Tulane, like I said, definitely thought it was kind of like a trap game. Thought it'd be like we score midway through the fourth quarter, make it a double-digit lead, and that kind of is like when we slowly pull away, you know? It's kind of how I felt like that game would go. From the jump, we had our foot on their neck. That game alone helped me be more excited for this upcoming game, I'll be honest. With that being said, the final play of the first half, Tulane completed their first pass all half. So therefore, in the first half, Ole Miss, I mean, they only had 10 passes in the first half. So Ole Miss knew they were running the ball. And watching the game, I was like telling my dad, I'm like, we know they're running it. They've thrown the ball like 8 times until their final drive, and they had that like 20 seconds left. Like, we know they're running it, and they still can't stop it. It's how I felt. But then I go back and I look at the stats. Their leading rusher was their quarterback with 51 yards. He also only had 56 passing yards. So it's like, I don't think Ole Miss's defense is that good. I do think this could possibly lead to some confidence going into the LSU game, which sometimes that's all you need is a little bit of confidence to kind of just get over that edge, you know? Not saying it's going to make us be a great defense or anything like that, but like going into a big game like LSU, hopefully that brings some confidence, lights a fire underneath them, and, you know, gets them pumped up and ready for this LSU game. However, I do think the Lane Kiffin rat poison is what he always calls these kind of things, with his daughter dropping the pick with their leading tackler, Weeks, at linebacker. So she's dropping that pick, and I will say this. The last time he was actually a transfer from LSU, the last time his daughter was dating someone, as soon as they cut ties, Lane Kiffin got his ass out of town. Walker Howard, or Will Howard, whichever one isn't the Ohio State guy, always got them mixed up. He ended up at UL Monroe, and I was hoping he was going to do good, but he actually tore his like Achilles or some shit. But anyways, so with that being said, Lane Kiffin's not playing about his daughter is my point. So I hope he's right when he says take the over, because obviously we would all love to see that as football fans. But I do remember a time when we were playing Alabama, and he said, get your popcorn ready, and we got absolutely thrashed. And then he got thrashed for saying that pregame. You know, he just looks at the reporter, get your popcorn ready, and walks off without saying another word. And we got killed by Alabama. Nick Saban, you know, he does that. But y'all are going to hate this. My biggest takeaway from this game is if we don't start Trinidad Chambliss, then Lane Kiffin, what the hell are we doing? That's going to be my honest opinion. I love Lane, trust everything Lane does. I have for years. When he first came to Ole Miss, the only thing I didn't trust about Lane was how much he went for it on fourth down. That shit used to stress me out. At this point, I've just become numb to it, thankfully. But I think Chambliss has to start this game. I think he's crazy if Chambliss doesn't. He's done better against better competition. So I think Chambliss has to start. I don't really know who wins. I think it's crazy that we're predicted to win, to be honest. LSU's number 4, but they're going to be a coming out party. Nussmeyer's, here's your shot, is my real thought. As an Ole Miss fan, that's my thought. Our defense doesn't look good. He hasn't looked good. Y'all talking about they haven't even scored 30. I would hate for this to end up like last year and be a shootout and us losing overtime or something crazy like last year, because I think this game could have big playoff implications. So obviously I'm going to root for Ole Miss, but I don't know who to pick. I'm not going to pick.
Oh, no, we're not letting you off easy that
You got to pick.
No,
you gotta pick.
I refuse, bro.
No, buddy, you're picking somebody.
I'm picking that I'm rooting for my Rebels. That's what I'm doing.
Stop. No, we're not. We
are.
We're all about that. Me and Joey, we're all three going to have to pick Bama versus Georgia. You have to pick it.
Well, if that's the case, I'm going to go Ole Miss because I'm a ride or die. I'll pick Ole Miss every week if that's how we're playing the game. But truthfully, in my heart, I don't really have a pick. I'm going to say Ole Miss because it's my team. But I truly have no fucking idea how this game plays out. Like, I truly do not. Like, I think this is a big test for both teams. I think this is a turning point for both teams. And then it could be a downfall for the other, or it could be how they bounce back type of thing. But I truly think this could, like Tripp saying, the percentage if you win this game for playoffs is way up for the teams or whatever. Like, I really think that's that big of playoff implications, which 4 weeks in, I did not know I would say that as an Ole Miss fan. But right now, looking at the schedule, it's like LSU circled, Oklahoma circled, and so is Georgia. And anything further than that, yeah, you know, it's SEC. Anybody can win any week. But those are obviously the 3 big games where it's like these could make or break you, which I say that as Ole Miss lost to Kentucky and Florida last year, and those are what made and broke us. But I'll go Ole Miss as the homer pick, but once again, I'm going to make it known I have no idea how this game plays out.
All right, well, we'll let you off for now, but normally you're not getting away that easy.
I said Ole Miss.
I'm going to go in. I'm not going to go through this game, but I think right here, this A&M and Auburn game, I think we could see an upset. We'll have to see. We've got 2 more games. We'll get into, I think game day is in Pennsylvania. Oregon at Penn State. Penn State 3.5-point favorite. This is, if Drew Aller is that guy that we've been hearing about for 6 months, this is our time to see it. I am about as I can't think of a good analogy, but I am not bought into Drew Aller at all. Never really been super impressed personally. But is it a Beaver Stadium? That's a tough place to play. I think obviously that gives him a little bit of advantage on the spread. But I honestly, excuse me. I think we don't really know what Oregon is. There's been a lot of, obviously they drum rolled freaking Oklahoma State. But I've got Oregon pulling the upset on the road. Obviously, like I was showing you earlier, Dante Moore second in the Heisman odds right now behind Mendoza. And I honestly think he's going to outperform Drew Aller in this, and that he's going to cement himself as probably the Heisman frontrunner after this. But give me Oregon.
I'm gonna take Oregon as well, Joey. I think Dante Moore has proven himself to be one of the best, not only quarterbacks, but players in the country right now. I think he has 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, if I'm not mistaken. I'm always going to cheer for Dan Lanning no matter what, unless he's playing my dogs. So I think we're going to see Oregon win this game and not even call it an upset, because it's going to show the true colors of both of these programs of what we're seeing this year. I don't believe in James Franklin in big games. I truly don't. I know they were a pristine program. I'm not taking anything away from that. But I'm taking Oregon all day with a lot of confidence going into this one.
Logan, hop in there.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to go off of exactly what Tripp basically just wrapped his segment up with here. Don't know if I believe in James Franklin in a big game. Since he's been at Penn State, he's proved time after time he will beat everybody except for a big game, whether it's Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon. It doesn't matter who it is. If it's a big game, it doesn't seem like he's going to show up. So I'm literally going with Oregon pretty much just off that. I believe in Dan Lanning coaching more than I believe in James Franklin. But to go off the old upset thing, if we got 2 teams playing in the top 10, 2 teams playing in the top teens, and they're both in the teens, that's not an upset in my book. All right, I just want to pick that bone. I get tired of like the 6-3, and I know like you're saying it's not an upset trip. I understand, but it just made me think about how people do that. Like if number 6 beats number 3 and they're both undefeated, it's not an upset. Can we stop doing that? That's just 2 good teams playing each other. Like,
I agree. Upset to me is an unranked team beating a highly ranked team.
Yeah, I mean,
we leave it
maybe
at that.
like a number 20 beats number 3. I can say like, okay, that's an upset. We didn't really expect that, But if they're both top 10 or top 15 probably, or if number 11 plays number 18, I'm like, that's not really an upset. It's 2 good football teams. Like, let's be realistic. But that's all I really got. I'm simply going Oregon because coaching, and I just don't believe in James Franklin winning a big game until he finally does it.
Yeah, no, the only thing that's keeping me from picking Penn State from winning this game, because they truly got a lot more reasons to win it than lose it. It's not even because of James Pissy Pants Franklin, who has been a perennial pant pisser in big games. It's because I think Drew Aller is a donut, bro. And I'm not employed by CBS or NBC.
I'm right there.
I don't get employed by anybody, so I got to be like within the lines of or margins of being politically correct about this quarterback shit. I don't got a slew of stats to point out to you about Drew Aller. Do the eye test, man. I do this shit every week with all these players that everybody say is so good, so this, so that. Bro, this guy plays quarterback like he got 2 left hands and 4 left feet. He stepped 9 ways in 5 different directions in one play and don't go nowhere, bro. This guy, man, I'm telling you right now, even when he has a good statistical game, you'd be like, how Penn State only scored 17 points? It's like Drew Allen's a donut, bro. I'm never gonna pick them to win any big game while he's their quarterback. So we can push forward to this Georgia. I'm pretty sure the Georgia game is what we got next. So
Yeah, that's the one we're gonna wrap it up with.
I ain't
But
even
I
gonna
totally
shit
agree.
on Franklin, bro. Honestly, more times than not, I like Franklin. I like Franklin as a man and as a coach. I hate that he can never really get the job done because I actually prefer him over guys like Ryan Day. But I just don't. I'm not taking Drew Aller against that defense, especially with Dan Lanning going to have those guys doing exotic blitzes and swarming at the quarterback the way we know he is. He's like the freaking Brian Flores of college football, bro. Like if anybody going to cause havoc in big games with employing those linebackers and all those other guys to crash down and cause havoc, you got to give it to Lanning. So yeah, give me the Ducks.
Hey, I will say, talking about James Franklin, I do like James Franklin as well, and I just want to say something crazy that's going to just devour me as an Ole Miss fan. James Franklin at Vanderbilt beat Ole Miss 4 straight years.
He was the man at Vanderbilt.
That's what I'm saying. Like at Vanderbilt, not saying we were a big game back then, but it's like Ole Miss has never lost to Vanderbilt 4 straight years until he got there. So it's like I do believe in James Franklin. I do think he's a good coach, but at Penn State, he just hasn't won the big game. But like I think it has like one big top 15 or top 10 win or something like that. But I just not to hate on James Franklin, but it's like at some point you got to call a spade a spade. He's got to get the job done.
Agreed. Well, we're gonna get to the big game. At least definitely Trip Graham and I. This is a game that has a lot of ghosts with us, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of ass whippings. To be frank, a lot of just how is this happening? It's Alabama at Georgia. Georgia has beat Alabama once in almost 20 years. The last time they beat them in a regular season game was 07 when Matt Stafford went and beat them at Alabama. And the last time they played in Sanford was that rainy game in 2015 where we got obliterated. I think Alabama's got a lot of people to put on notice this game. As in, hey, week 1, that's not who we are. We kind of figured ourselves out. We're not that same team who's going to make those lackadaisical mistakes. And I know they've kind of had some cupcakes in between then, but they are ready. They are ready for this game. I think Ty Simpson, like we were talking about during that first week, he didn't play bad. He was in terrible circumstances, especially weather-wise, and there was a lot going on around him that just didn't help. But I think he is for real. And Kirby Smart called him the hottest quarterback in America right now. I think Georgia, obviously, we showed, hey, we're not backing down from anybody. We're fighting for fourth quarters. We saw that with this game last year. Georgia has lost. When's the last? I don't think they lost a night game in Sanford since Kentucky in like 09. It's become one of the toughest places to play. I would attribute because you always hear about the students leaving early, blah 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 blah. Sanford Stadium to me is not a super extraordinary place. But when they need that crowd to be ready, that crowd is ready every single time. The Tennessee game last year was nuts. Tennessee game in 2022 was nuts. Notre Dame 2019, insane. So these guys bring it when they're supposed to. With that being said, it pains me, but I'm picking Alabama. It's going to be hard for me to pick Georgia against them until they prove it. Obviously, you had the national championship. We've lost 3 times since then. And I think these guys are ready to prove, hey, we're still Bama. We're ready to get this Fire DeBoer nonsense out of the way. And I really think Ryan Williams finally got his stride against Wisconsin. I wouldn't call Wisconsin a cupcake, I guess. That's probably not fair. But both teams coming off buys this week. So I think until Ric Flair, you got to be the man. To be the man, you got to beat the man. And until Georgia does it, it's going to be hard for me to pick. So I'm going Bama.
All right, Logan, you made us go last. Kick it off. Or you went last on yours, so you got to kick us off now.
That's fair. I would have went first because y'all are going to have way more details than me. I'll keep mine short and sweet because I just know y'all two going to have some things to say with it being your teams and whatnot. I hear you. Grew up watching wrestling the same. Be the man, you got to beat the man. However, Kevin DeBoer, to be the man, has to beat the man who is Kirby Smart in this scenario. Nick Saban's no longer head honcho down there. So I'm picking Georgia because I'm going to flip your script against you. To be the man, you got to beat the man. Kevin DeBoer has not beat the man yet.
He did last year.
Oh, wait, he did last year. Wow,
Yeah.
shit. Yeah, I'm still sticking to my guns, baby. I'm picking Georgia. Go Dogs, baby. I just think Georgia gets it done. I don't think Bama looked great against Wisconsin, and Wisconsin played a second-string quarterback. So I just don't believe much in Bama. You lose to Florida State. Florida State looks like they're going to be good. They've done nothing to say otherwise. They blew the doors off UL Monroe, which, congrats, you should. But I just overall don't really – I mean, nothing really sticks out the paper for me for Bama yet. I mean, I guess you could say kind of the same for Georgia, but I just think Kirby Smart and them Dogs are going to get it done, especially with it being up there in Athens. So I'm picking the Dogs.
Go ahead, Graham. Lay into him.
No, man. I mean, I think there's a couple of angles that we can, always look at when it comes to this matchup. Some of the conventional angles are like both lines of scrimmages compared to one another. And I think in this matchup, even without my bias, I would lean a little bit towards Georgia in that regard. I think as a unit, I trust defensively Alabama as a whole, their unit more. But as far as the front seven, I know Georgia has had a really tough time getting home to the quarterback and producing sacks. But I do think guys like Chris Cole, in particular, who is our team's leading, leader in sacks right now with only 2, is somebody who can continue and grow and expand and kind of that like hybrid role that he's in right now until he's able to nestle into wherever he's going to eventually play, whether that be nickel, whether that be an inside or an outside backer. I think right now the fact that Kirby and Schumann are able to, flex him as an edge guy and just say, look, you're more talented and more athletic than the guy who's going to line up in front of you. Use that raw talent and skill to find a way to just get home. I think that's something that can play into Georgia's advantage when they're playing at home in Athens. So I do lean a little bit more towards them defensively in that regard. So on the scrimmage, I'm leaning towards Georgia. But outside of that, even in the quarterback position, it's hard for me not to consider like Alabama as the favorites. Better at wide receiver, better at quarterback. Probably just better at generating explosive plays at a more like consistent clip. Other than that, we got Kirby Smart to lean on. So it is one of those matchups that continue to like split each other's hairs when like you try and look at it like outside of a vacuum and step out and like look at it as a whole. I'm conflicted when it comes to my pick on this because I'm very much like similar to Joey and a guy who I think we all listen to speak consistently, during our time throughout the week with Brooks Austin. He's another guy who believes in that, like, to beat a man, you got to beat the man philosophy. Besides that national championship in 2021, we failed to prove that. With that being said, though, I'm gonna go Georgia with this pick. And the reason why I go Georgia is because we have Kirby Smart. I think Kirby Smart, with a couple things that transpired last season, not only with dealing with the quarterback situation, dealing with the fact that his, father passed away. There's a lot of things that I think Kirby Smart is going to approach this game with a little bit of a different mindset. Maybe it's refreshed his hunger and his desire to want to win those big games. Like you could see how much it meant to him to beat Tennessee last week, or the week before. So give me the Dogs. Trip, I'm looking forward to your pick.
I do want to say real quick before you go, Trip, I know you were talking about getting home to the quarterback, Graham. Both Georgia and Alabama both have 4 sacks on the year.
Okay.
So neither one's been too consistent with doing so, but that's something to definitely look out for. Not getting off on that tangent, though. Go ahead, Trip. Wrap us up.
I hate this week. I absolutely hate this week. I know that we talked earlier when we were reflecting on the Tennessee game, and I mentioned, Georgia's 117th in the nation in sacks. Alabama's right there with them. This is a game where I know y'all are saying to be the man, you got to beat the man. Fuck that, man. I'm so tired of the narrative that they own us. This is time to flip that script. We got a home streak of 52, 53 games in a row now. Kirby Smart lost 3 games at home, I think, in his first year as a coach and hasn't lost one since. And that we are not going to let that streak die to this team of all teams. I cannot see that happen. So with that being said, I think Ty Simpson's a great quarterback. I think he, like Kirby is right, I think he is one of the hottest quarterbacks in the country right now. Haven't seen a lot of flaws from him at all, even in that loss to Florida State. But like we talked about before, I think we're going to look back at the end of this season and say that really wasn't a bad loss to Florida State by any means. But I think from what I saw in that game, and on top of Logan's point of what I saw against Wisconsin, if we come out with the same offensive explosion that we did against Tennessee, I think a lot of people are going to be surprised. Now, I think I saw a stat, Bama's beat us 9 of the last 10 matchups that we've had against them, which just makes me lose sleep looking at that. And I know that Joey always talks about Tennessee as his most hated team. Not me. It's Alabama. So I'm going to take the dogs in this one. Either way, I'm not going to have any fingernails left in this on my hands after this game, but I'm going to take the dogs.
Well,
I love it.
If there's one thing, I certainly hope I'm wrong. I do not want to be right about this. I will put that as an L on my yearly chalk.
I respect your pick. I respect your pick.
I do as well, though. Yeah, I think we all like have to respect that pick. From a non-biased standpoint, man.
Yeah, it's tough to pick that, but yeah. So, well, guys, I think that's it. I appreciate everybody sticking around with us. Went a little bit long today. Had a lot to talk about. A lot of stuff went down today. Kind of, excuse me, altered the itinerary a little bit, but we'll be back tomorrow with NFL episode. We're going to talk about the Giants being an absolute dumpster fire until one of Logan's friends maybe come save the day. Talk about the Falcons letting us down, the Jets doing the same, and the Lions being one of our teams to get a win this week, amongst other things. So,
hey, I got one last thing to say, Joey.
Go ahead.
Because I said this last time when we signed off. I'm going to say it this time when we sign off, and I'll continue to say it until it's no longer valid. Ole Miss is leading the SEC in wins. And this could very well be the last week I say that. So I'm going to get it in while I can. I'm getting it in while I can. Ole Miss 2-0 in the conference.
Respect.
Well, I'm glad you got that off. This is the fan union, so we talk about our teams. No shame there. No. But guys, we'll see y'all later. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.